Theories and myths are the maps, but the body is the territory. To speak of alchemy is not merely to philosophize, is to engage in the tangible transformation of energy. The daily rituals that turn longing into creation, frustration into fuel. This is where the rubber meets the road. In the breath, the movement, the choices that shape how desire moves through us. The art of containment, building energetic pressure. Nature abhors a vacuum, but creativity thrives on tension. The first practical step in alchemizing desire is learning to hold it without discharging it compulsively. This is not repression, it is the conscious choice to let energy accumulate until it reaches a critical mass. Like steam in a piston, breath as the anchor. Pranayama yogic breathwork is one of the most direct ways to redirect sexual energy upward. The Ujjayi breath, victorious breath, with its slow, controlled inhales and exhales, acts as a pump for the subtle body, drawing energy from the lower chakras to the higher centers. The power of the pause in moments of intense craving, whether sexual, creative, or addictive. The practice is to stop, not to judge or suppress, but to stand in the fire and observe. This builds the neural muscle of impulse control, turning automatic reactions into conscious choices. Movement as alchemy, channeling energy through the body. Stagnant energy becomes toxic. Moving energy becomes power. Physical practices are the forge where raw desire is hammered into strength. Yoga and Qigong, postures like Bhujangasana, Cobra Pose, and Mula Bandha root lock activate the pelvic floor, the body's energetic reservoir. Qigong's microcosmic orbit circulates sexual energy through the spine and brain, transforming it into Shen's spiritual awareness, dance and ecstatic movement. There's a reason Dionysian rites and Sufi whirling used motion to transmute desire into ecstasy. Unstructured, embodied movement, especially when done with the intention of release, breaks up energetic blockages. Creative transmutation. From libido to art, Freud was half right. Sublimation is real, but it's not a psychological compromise. It's an alchemical operation. The 90-day challenge, a classic tantric practice for artists and seekers alike. For 3 months, sexual energy is conserved through celibacy or conscious intimacy and poured into a creative project. The results are often staggering bursts of inspiration, heightened focus, and a visceral sense of energy moving through the work. The erotic blueprint, every individual's desire, speaks in a different dialect. Some are energized by sensation, the sensual type. Others by novelty, the explorer. Others by emotional charge, the romantic. Identifying your primary erotic language allows you to harness its energy more precisely. For example, a sensual might create through tactile art, while a romantic might channel energy into lyrical writing. Shadow work, facing the demons in the fire. Desire carries its own shadows. Shame, obsession, fear of lack. These cannot be bypassed. They must be met. The jealousy meditation, when envy or possessiveness arises, for example, in relationships or creative competition, sit with the sensation. Ask, what does this feeling want to protect? What unclaimed power is hiding beneath it? Often, jealousy is a distorted cry for self-actualization. The 5 a.m. test, a brutal but effective mirror. At dawn, when the ego's defenses are low, ask, what am I truly hungry for? The answers that arise beyond surface cravings reveal the unmet needs masquerading as desire. Relational alchemy. Desire as a shared crucible. Intimacy is the ultimate alchemical laboratory when 2 people commit to conscious desire. the energy multiplies exponentially. Tantric dialogue. Before physical connection, partners sit facing each other, breathe together, and voice their intentions, for example. I offer this energy to creativity, or I welcome your fire as a mirror. For my own, this shifts sex from consumption to co-creation. The third entity in any collaborative project, art, business, or parenting. The most potent work happens when both parties focus not on each other, but on the shared vision between them. Desire becomes the glue that binds the team to something larger. The productivity paradox. Leveraging the edge of frustration. Modern productivity hacks fail because they ignore the engine of human motivation. Unsatisfied but purposeful tension. Controlled deprivation. Like a sculptor chiseling away excess stone, strategic restraint sharpens focus. Try working in bursts of 45 minutes, followed by 15 minutes of not indulging in distractions, no phone, no snacks. The itch to reach for dopamine trains the mind to channel that restless energy into the task. The orgasmic deadline. High performers often unconsciously tap into this. By setting a near impossible deadline, they create a pressure cooker of creative energy, the same urgency usually reserved for pursuit of a lover. The key is to harness this deliberately, not burn out from it. The energetic diet. What fuels the fire? Not all desires are created equal. Some energies drain, others amplify. Sensory fasting. Periodically abstain from cheap dopamine, social media, sugar, porn to reset the body's sensitivity, like a palate cleanser. This makes real creative energy more vivid. The aphrodisiac of the mind. Consume what inspires desire in its highest form. Rumi's poetry, Frida Kahlo's paintings, the music of Nina Simone. These are not distractions. They are kindling for your own fire. The alchemist's morning, a daily ritual. Cold exposure, 30-sec shower or plunge, shocks the body awake, forcing energy upward from survival instincts to alert focus. Gratitude plus desire mapping. Write 3 gratitudes. Grounding followed by 1 burning desire, for example, I am grateful for my health, and I ache to finish my novel. This aligns appreciation with forward momentum. Creative surge. Before checking any devices, spend 20 minutes pouring energy into your most important project. Unfiltered, riding the wave of morning vitality. This is not esoteric theory. These are levers tested across centuries and cultures that turn the abstract into the actionable. The alchemy of desire is not about denying the body's wisdom. It's about trusting it enough to let it lead you beyond mere gratification into the realm of mastery. The ideas and symbols of this path may feel lofty, wrapped in the language of myth and cosmic metaphor, but their true power reveals itself only when they descend into the soil of daily life. If the river of desire is to be more than a distant vision, it must find its channels in the routines, choices, and relationships that make up our existence. This is where the alchemy ceases to be philosophy and becomes a living practice. The first movement in this integration is awareness without judgment. Sexual energy moves in us in countless ways, as physical arousal, yes, but also as restlessness, as curiosity, as the sudden urge to make something, to speak truth, to dance without reason. Most people, conditioned by a lifetime of shame or fear, meet these stirrings with either reflexive indulgence or equally reflexive suppression. Both are acts of unconsciousness. To integrate, we must instead meet the energy with attention, noticing when it rises, how it feels in the body, and what it seems to want. This kind of noticing is not analysis but attunement. like a musician tuning an instrument until the string hums in sympathy with a hidden note. Once awareness is established, the second movement is redirection without repression. If the energy is strong and immediate, it can be tempting to discharge it in its most familiar form. But the alchemist asks, what else can this become? If the energy is like heat, perhaps it can be poured into movement, a run, a dance, the shaping of clay, the writing of words that would not have come without that urgency. The transformation does not deny the original impulse, it expands it, showing it other ways to fulfill itself. Over time, this practice rewires the body-mind so that desire is no longer a tyrant demanding one narrow outlet, but a servant to a larger vision. Integration also demands honesty in relationships. Sexual energy does not move in isolation. It weaves itself through our connections with others. This means we must speak openly about its presence, its boundaries, and its transformations. If you are channeling this current into art, into service, or into spiritual practice, those close to you may feel its radiance or its intensity in ways they do not understand. The task here is to live transparently enough that the energy does not become a source of confusion or misunderstanding, but a shared force that can nourish connection rather than erode it. There is also the matter of sustaining the energy rather than burning it out. Many who begin this work experience a rush of creative and sensual vitality, only to find it exhausting if not balanced with rest, nourishment, and quietude. Just as fire needs both fuel and containment, sexual energy needs both expression and periods of stillness where it can replenish itself. This may take the form of meditation, time in nature, deep breathing, or simply moments of unstructured presence. Without these pauses, the river can flood, eroding the very channels you have carved for it. In the realm of creative work, practical integration often means making a deliberate bridge between states of heightened desire and the act of creation. A musician might keep their instrument close during moments of attraction, letting the heat of that moment spill into melody. A writer might keep a notebook nearby, ready to catch the sudden rush of language that comes when the heart is stirred. The key is to act before the energy dissipates, not waiting until later, for later the fire may have cooled, leaving only the ashes of what might have been on a larger scale. This integration transforms how we meet challenges and obstacles. Sexual energy, when unacknowledged, can turn against us in the form of frustration, conflict, or self-sabotage. But when consciously cultivated, it becomes a reservoir of resilience. The same vitality that can sustain a lover through a night of passion can sustain an artist through months of creation, or a leader through the long labor of building something meaningful. When you realize that your own body contains this source of renewal, you stop treating burnout as inevitable and begin treating energy itself as an ally to be courted and cared for. Finally, practical integration extends into the way we walk in the world, literally. The alchemist of desire moves differently, not in the hurried, fragmented pace of one pulled in 1,000 directions, but in the grounded, steady stride of someone who knows their own current and trusts its flow. This presence is magnetic. Others feel it without knowing why. It is not about seduction, but about resonance. The sense that here is someone who is deeply alive, whose eyes carry both the heat of the earth and the clarity of the sky. Living this way changes the fabric of everyday life. Mundane interactions take on a subtle charge. Ordinary tasks are infused with a quiet joy. Even the difficulties feel different, not as threats to survival, but as invitations to deepen the channel through which the river flows. Over time, this creates a life where the body is not at war with the spirit, where desire and purpose do not compete, and where every breath feels like a thread in the same luminous tapestry.